So the page URL changes is it's pretty straightforward. Basically, you have your curator URL here. That's hopefully something prettier than localhost. And then just straight into the page slug instead of the little /page/ in between. The main reason we wanted to do this was for SEO reasons. As we get more and more clients that are going to use Curator as a public facing utility, we want them to be able to be parsed on Google and Bing and Ask Jeeves and all of those very used tools. So if we go to the front end, you can see no page/page, and here is the normal page look. Now, for those people that have bookmarks and stuff to the /page/ not page/page, but /page/, it'll still work totally fine. So it's not going to break people's bookmarks. And when we do this, when we're on a page that is like this and not just going straight to the slug, we also add a head element right here that tells Google and everyone else that this is like the main one to parse for SEO. So that way this URL won't get parsed whenever Google's trying to decide which one to use. And instead, it'll always use this one. This change also cascades to tiles, and you can see here's a page in my navigation that also goes to this version of the URL. So that is the entirety of the change. Should help for mostly public-facing curators, but if you have a private curator, then you might also see these changes as well. That just kind of makes your URLs look pretty. So.
So the minor tweak or the minor feature that will be coming out in the next release. For comparison, this is what the status page currently looks like. This is version 1 of the warning category feature. And before this, if you guys remember, all the warnings were on the home page in a list, and users had trouble kind of distinguishing each warning from each other. There weren't any bullet points or anything. So what we've done is version 1 moved it all to the status page and let them know how many warnings there are, split them up with bullet points, and let them know with this red logo that there are some curator warnings to address, so it's more obvious and easier for the users to see. Now for this current version 2, I suppose, what we have is kind of the same format, but Katie and design team helped to come up with this design where we split the warnings up into 3 different categories. And I had help from the team to decide which warning belongs into which category too. Now it's a lot easier for the users to see, oh, I have one really urgent warning that could break my site if I left that alone, and compared to other warnings that might not be as urgent that I can take care of later, that would be good to take a look at, versus to do tasks that aren't urgent at all. So this way it's a lot easier for the clients to understand, oh, what warnings I should prioritize. So if you click into the warnings, it lets you know, each category lets you know, like urgent, for example, theme is not retrieved, or authentication issues under medium priority warnings. And if there are no warnings, then it's got a little nice job message. And also on the homepage now, instead of having all the warnings here in a list, that takes up a lot of space here as well. With the new homepage that we will have, it's a lot more straightforward. It just says check is complete and tells you if there are any urgent warnings or medium priority warnings that are found. You can visit the status page where we were earlier to check details in more details. And there's also the notification icon added from the last release, where you can go directly to the status page as well. So there's a couple more methods to get there So client can definitely see like in, big letters and the images, and this is responsive as well for different screen sizes, which hopefully should be a lot easier for them to see and cleaner. And another thing is that we've updated the client notification email to include different warning categories like this. So it's also a lot easier for them to see in their email if they don't go on their instance to check what issues they would need to address and give it a lot more priority. And yeah, that's it.
All right, so as you're going through, you're creating a new integration or editing an old one, you put in your information, go down, select Tableau as your platform, shows up the other options, and here you'll see now only cloud is selected. Tableau server is not selectable. So that being the only option. So that is one for that. Now it'll take me just a second to do the other one to switch over my license type to be able to show the other one. And this is basically it. So if you have an expired license, and let me know if you can, if you can't see this, great. So basically, yes, if you have an expired license, this is what you see when you try to hit that front page. I said, not a whole lot to see as far as interactivity, but it does let you know, and also supplies that contact us link for them to renew their license.
So there's nothing to actually show as far as this feature goes, but we've kind of gone through the back end and I wouldn't say overhauled, but we've refactored some things to take advantage of the new connected apps and JOTs, which are JSON web tokens. And so what that allows us to do is start replacing the trusted ticket authentication process that's been so problematic over the years, because you've got to go in and make server changes, which requires a restart and all that stuff. So, and then anytime the network changes, it potentially breaks that system and you got to go trust some new stuff. So Tableau's gone through and they've added the connected apps and JOTs to allow you to kind of bypass that system to authenticate users in different scenarios without having to be trusted. And so what we've done is we've gone through the back end, all the API calls that we're making that are eligible for JOTs, we've converted them to use JOTs. So at this point, the biggest call out is if you notice any weird syncing problems or errors showing up in the event log or anything like that, just be aware that some of the API calls are using JOTs and some of them may not be. And so if something is acting funny, it could be something to do with how those are being mismatched. It should work, but again, it's a new feature. And then Tableau starts rolling out more API endpoints to use JOTs, we'll convert those over as well.
So basically what we've added is, so with the tiles, we've added like a new layout to the tiles where it's more of a landscape. And this one takes like 16:9 aspect ratio, I think. So whereas previously, so it would be, so under the tile section, we've got all these tile styles. The default one, I think that we had looked something like this. And I know a lot of clients asked for this landscape one just because like the dashboards being landscape and so on. So like if I just save this, I think I already have it open here. But so yeah, that's how it would look. So basically that's it for the tiles. There is also, it will also be added on like if you go to, I believe under, because you could have like a global setting for your tiles. So there should be an option under pages on your theme. You can then also, yeah, there is. So you could also set like your global tiles to be landscape. So that's it for the tiles. I will quickly switch over to another branch.
Actually, quick. Does this one have the crop on it?
Yeah, so the crop, so I've got like, so the crop currently, I think it's cropping towards the center. I've got something figured out where we can crop it like top left, but it seems to be like doing some weird things. So let me really quickly show you where we can, because I just need to figure out some of these things, like the way the CMS does it, so we can just crop that image properly. Currently it's cropping it the default way, so the way we've always cropped it, like towards the center, and it works well for like actually like dashboards that are actually landscape. But then once you get a dashboard like this that's actually like a long, I think a portrait dashboard, then it kind of just goes towards the center. So I've got something here and I can show you. We may need to change this slightly, to be honest, but it is working more or less. So like if I go to tile styles, I think, so center is the default one that we've always had. If I do like an auto, it then would crop it top left, but I think it does bug out sometimes, so that's why I kept the default one. So you can see now they're all cropped top left, which works well, I think, but there's still the issue where sometimes it goes a bit fuzzy, and I think that's just because this dashboard is like a really like long dashboard, so when it tries to crop it, it goes a bit odd. So we have the ability to crop it like properly, but I think we just need to like improve this a little bit more. There is also this crop that I've added here, which basically doesn't, with this one, it doesn't respect the aspect ratio, but it would then fit like all the thumbnail within. So then it would like just try to squeeze it in basically. So basically we've added on the Explorer view, on the page builder, we've added like a new option here to enable sorting. And what this does, okay, so it has cleared the cache. So what this does is it adds a drop down here on the top right to allow users to filter, to sort those results, sorry. So if I go to the page, I can show you some of those options. Yeah, I think the cache has gone a bit funny. Let me try to clear it. Oh, actually, that's my fault. I was sorry. I was testing with this and I was changing some stuff here. Refresh that really. Yeah, okay. So yeah, now so it adds like this drop down. There's like a small information here thing here that tells you like what the default sorting is. But then once I don't know, can you see the drop down? Because sometimes on the screen share it doesn't show the drop down.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, cool. So yeah, so then we've added like all these options. So like if I do like most viewed, you will see that these then get sorted by most viewed, or like date created, and then you've got like alphabetical. So if I put this like Z first, it should do like, yeah, it should sort that like alphabetically, and then I could go back to the default, and then that would just bring me back to that. So yeah, and that should still work with like filtering down here. If I do most viewed, that will sort those. So yeah, that's the sorting on the Explorer view. There is also, as part of this, like we slightly changed like some of these visual aspects. And Katie helped me with this actually. So this is really useful. We've changed like this styling slightly, so you might see it on if you enable sort. And I think we've made this like take up most of the screen, as opposed to like the old view. For now, like I haven't made any changes like on the off element, because I know we have a lot of clients that are using this and that might also be using custom code. I can think of like 2 of them. I know like we're gonna drop support for custom code, so eventually I want to try to get those visual changes like into the default one as well. But for V1, we just added it onto like if you enable sort, then you get like the new visual changes as well. But oops, sorry, I need to hide this. But yeah, that's it.
All right. Yeah, I think this one will probably be a little bit more straightforward. Everyone's already familiar with keywords. So this is just keyword integration with ThoughtSpot and Power BI now. So now when you drill into the keywords on the backend keyword section, we've got areas where you can go ahead and select the keywords and for that you wanted to go ahead and set up with the ThoughtSpot content or Power BI content. You can see here I've already got some set up, as well as you can see here on the actual pages themselves, whenever or the actual content themselves, the live boards, the options here to set it up. Basically, they work interchangeably. It'll be like you set it up here, save. It'll also apply on the actual content themselves. And then you're able to now go ahead and pull those into your tiles. So we can go ahead and now do content type or like ThoughtSpot live board and set it to keywords. You can see here I've got the keyword I was working on over here, this Rogers transaction. Now, since I went ahead and added that keyword there, I can go ahead and just refresh this page here. And yep, you can see went ahead and brought in my new keyword or my new selected ThoughtSpot live board with the keywords here. So, yep, I can go ahead and select multiple of these. Same for the ThoughtSpot live boards, the search now, and Power BI and the reports and dashboards. So, a lot more standardization now across the board with all that. But yeah.
It does take kind of a lot of setup. Oh, sorry. It takes a decent amount of setup, so I had to pre-record this. But the gist of it is this user attribute feature. It's currently only available with Tableau Online, but I believe it'll roll into Tableau Server. So the short version here is that I'm setting up custom attributes with my on my SAML provider on Okta. So I am setting my attribute to West for my particular user. And then inside of Okta, you have to map those together. So I'm mapping it to an attribute that's going to get passed over once I log in. That's called test user attribute region. So that one is a little more, context specific. So once I've mapped those, that data is going to get passed once I'm logging into Curator. And so Curator will be able to see that information, but it's not necessarily listening for it. So on this page, inside of my authentication settings, once I have my SAML configuration up and running, there's a new area where you can start listening for SAML attributes to come through. And now, whenever my users log into Curator, I will be able to ingest that attribute. And there are a lot of clients who have setups where there's a lot of data that gets passed through, so you might not necessarily need to set it up that manually. But the kicker comes when you can set up your filter inside of Tableau to also listen for those attributes. And so the way that we've set up Curator is it ingests those SAML attributes, and then it allows you to use this user attribute function inside of a Tableau dashboard. So now, whenever I'm previously, whenever you wanted to create a row level security feature inside of Tableau, you would have to do that at either like a username or a user group level. This new feature allows you to do that based on attributes that are getting passed through. So if I load up my user attribute test dashboard here, you can see that in the top right, there's a table that shows which user I have, but obviously the more prevalent thing is the map. And I'm seeing the West region over there. If I change that to East, now my user in SAML has access to the East region. But in this case, I'll need to clear the cache. So that way my user, and that will get cleared. The cache will or the attribute will update if the user logs out and logs back in. Excuse me. But instead of logging out and logging back in, I just cleared the cache there. And that you can now see I only have access to the East region. So it's mapping over to only looking at SAML and then passing it all through to Curator. There is some additional troubleshooting info in here that's pretty helpful. And that would be looking at the individual groups and users on Curator to be able to determine like what their attributes are set to. So if I go into my front end users and specifically look at my individual user, I can figure out what attributes they have and where they've inherited them from. So you can actually even, so right now, yeah, at the bottom there, you can see this is the data that we've received from SAML. And then up at the top, you can see what those attributes have resolved to. In the middle, though, you can actually add custom attributes to individual users. So you don't necessarily have to have a SAML provider to set this up. You can also manage these attributes inside of Curator. I think that would be the end. Okay. And then there is another video that the short version is there's essentially a similar feature inside of groups. So in Curator, and this would be particularly useful for somebody who's not using SAML, you can add attributes on a group basis as well. So she has two. This first one is a new feature on scheduled reports. So previously, if you were a user and you created a report, you would have to know which dashboard that report was associated with in order to go find or edit that report. And so what Steffi's added in is the ability to go out and create a scheduled report. After you've created a scheduled report, you can have essentially like a user-specific list of all the reports that you have access to, essentially like a My Reports tab. So on the back end, this has always been available. You can see, as an admin, you can see all the reports that your users have created. And so historically, this has been the way that people, somebody says, hey, I want to go see the reports that my users have created. Only the admin would be able to kind of see that like cross-functional view. But if you enable the Manage My Scheduled Reports page inside of the settings section of Curator. That will turn on a toolbar inside of the user dropdown on the front end. So underneath this one, there's now a My Scheduled Reports option. And then that will just take you to all of the reports that that user has access to. And it'll give you a few details about it. And it will also give you the same management controls that you would have on a dashboard page. So you can see she can go in and modify the schedule. And so this gives you a little bit more of like, and I think this is a really common request from somebody who says, hey, you know, I went in and I got an email from Curator and it's taking me to this report. Like, I don't totally know where this came from. And sometimes you can create multiple reports for the same dashboard. So giving someone the ability to go in and have like a complete global view of all the things they have access to, I think will simplify a lot of, honestly, the questions that our clients tend to get with their user base. Obviously, when searching through content, we haven't always been able to, we've only historically searched through page titles and page descriptions. The same thing is true for dashboards because we have dashboard titles, dashboard descriptions, but pages obviously have a lot more text inside of them. And so now what Steffi's added in is the ability to parse through the content of an actual page. In particular, I think that this is extremely useful because a lot of our clients don't have instances that are publicly accessible. So something like SEO improvements through Google aren't really relevant to them because their websites can't be accessed through any sort of search engine. So the ability to go and search the content on individual pages provides a lot more transparency for like a center of excellence who maybe has content about, you know, and here she's showing that there's some style and brand examples. So if somebody has a question around, you know, design templates or the way things should be structured or look, it's pretty easy for people to now go find the content someone's added to that individual page.